Hello, everyone, and welcome to League Review. I'm your host, William, and today we're talking about Week 5 of the LEC. Last week, we actually had a pretty decent week. We went 7-3 in our predictions. Pretty much the same as we've always done in LEC. We're currently 28-12, which is much better than our NA predictions. If you watched yesterday's podcast, we're barely above 500 there. So 28-12 is a solid 7% or 70%, not 70% prediction rate after 4 weeks, and we correctly picked. Hang on. Oops, sorry. There we go. Week 5. Oops, I'm on the wrong one. I'm like Schalke never beat Misfits. But I am on LEC Spring 2019. So that's not where I wanted to be. I want to be on 2020 Spring. Okay. We correctly picked the first game of Origin beating Mad Lions. We picked Excel over SK correctly, Fnatic over Vitality, Rogue over SO4. So we started out really good. Like 4-0 start. I'm like, hell yeah, we haven't even had G2 yet. And then Misfits beat G2. That happened. And then I'm like, okay, Misfits, I see you. And they kind of crushed G2, to be honest. like they kind of beat G2 up pretty good. So, okay, I see what you're doing, Misfits. You're insanely impressive right now. Then they beat Vitality. Not impressive at all. It's Vitality. And then we got that right. Then we got Rogue over SK right. And then G2. Lost to SO4. SO4. Of all teams. The team was 0-7 with insane amount of roster chaos with Forgiven essentially quitting. 0-7. G2 just was like, not gonna play this game, and they lost. Oh man, G2, what a terrible week. I did not expect that whatsoever. And then we picked Origin over Accelerate, and we did not get Mad Lions over Fnatic. I was actually looking back. I was like, I don't remember. Did I pick Fnatic or Mad Lions? Because last week we didn't actually have the green circle set properly. And, man, I was like, I always liked I love Mad Lions. I believe Shadow was our player to watch out, and yeah, and he performed. Oh, they beat Fnatic pretty good. I think did Mad Lions lose their first game? Yeah, they lost to Origin, unfortunately. But man, they took down Fnatic, and I was very impressed by that. I like this Mad Lions team quite a bit. But all right, those are the 10 games last week. Let's go over today's topics. Let's go to the LEC Spring 2020. First topic is what the hell, G2? What happened here? Oh man, that was a terrible performance or week in general for G2. It was one of their happy weeks, pretty much, by if you go by Ning standards. They're having some happy games, and they showed up pretty big. At first, I was like, "Damn, Misfits, that's pretty good." But like losing, Misfits is tied for first now, which is very odd, in my opinion. This team's good. They're on a 6-game winning streak right now. Like, what is happening here? They're really synergizing it well as a team, which is really interesting to say. My whole point I was gonna make when they initially lost to G2 is like they got Bavoy on the team for Misfits. China is G2's weakness. Like maybe just like he taught Misfits the secrets of the LPL, and that's why they were able to do so well. But then they lost to SO4, and losing to SO4 is simply unacceptable in any way, shape, or form. There is no way I could see this. Like, I mean, you've got a replacement jungler because Gilius got benched, which is totally fine. And then Forgiven quits the team, so they bring up Inax over, and then they have Dream still, and just like, oh my god, this team is a mess. Like, they are gonna go 0-18. Like, everything's falling apart. And then they go and beat G2 for their first win of the year. Man, this is. And let's talk about let's actually bring up some match history. I want to bring up at least the first game with G2 versus Misfits here. Let's bring up a certain someone, not to name many names, but let's just do a little bit of a zoom like this, and then what do we got right there? We got an 0-9 gaps. Wow, that was probably, honestly, one of the worst performances I've ever seen an ADC have ever. Like, look at this. G2 gets 3 kills, double for Yankos, and a kill back on the bot lane. Caps died, though. Okay. Then Sona dies up top. Sona top, by the way. I don't like it as much as Soraka top. I thought initially Sona top was going to be better than Soraka top because I just felt it had more poke and like annoyance, but I was dead wrong on that. I just don't think it's very good at all. And then Caps died again. So Caps died at about the 4-minute mark, and then he died at about the 5-minute mark, and then he died at about the 7-minute mark, and then he died at about the 8.5-minute mark, and then he died at about the 10-minute mark. And like 10 minutes in, he's just running it down bot lane, essentially. He's just going and dying. Going and then dying. It was very weird. And this was the game I did actually want to bring up because we had Razork, who was our MVP last week for Player of the Week, and like he popped off this week on the Echo Jungle. This is what I've been waiting for. But Echo Jungle, I've always wanted to see it. And then we saw it at Worlds, and I remember I hyped it up a ton going into Worlds, and then it sucked, along with other people. And now Echo's gotten more buffs on top of that, and it just hasn't been. I feel like the world's negativity towards Echo, just because it did so bad in the first 2 days, I think it was like 0-6 or something like that, that it's never been touched again. Echo Jungle's disgusting, and Razork is apparently an insanely good Echo Jungle. Like, Echo does a lot of random damage that you don't expect, is at least from my personal opinion. It's like, he blows you up a lot quicker than I always just kind of realize. Like, that Q into his, like, I've never played Echo, actually, but it's usually, like, his like, shuriken thing, I don't remember what it's called, but the Q that he shoots out, and then like his like jump Q for the like enhanced auto attack, basically, it does a lot. It does a whole lot of damage, especially if you haven't built any magic resistance. So it's always something you don't even have to really pay attention to the ult. The ult is very important, but that'd be something Jensen would say. But no, like the ult is important, but like those two abilities do just like in a quick skirmish a lot of damage. The stun is nice, but you don't even necessarily need it for just pure damage. But yeah, as you see, this all of these kills consistently. It's almost always Caps. Caps is dead again. Then Wonder. Then Caps. Then Yankos and Perks. Then Yankos and Perks. Then Caps again. Then Caps again. Oh man, it was a quick game. It was a pretty quick game. It was only 29 minutes, and it was just a clobber, or just a stomp from pretty much the very beginning. Like outside of that little peak here and a little peak here by G2, like it was all misfits the whole way down. Yeah, so that was our G2 conversation. Let's talk about SO4 and Forgiven leaving the team, and then SO4 coming out to beat G2, kind of related to G2 still. Like they did come out and lose to Rogue, I should say first. They didn't look great in that game. So then that's why it was even more of a surprise to me that they came and beat G2. Like like it's not like it was like, oh, this breath of fresh air. Like we get Rogue, okay, or like we beat Rogue. Like we don't have Forgiven on our team anymore. Everything's good with everyone. No, it wasn't like that at all. It was like they struggled really bad against Rogue, and Larson just absolutely popped off. And oh no, that was Finn that was popping off that game, right? Yeah, I believe that one was Finn. Yeah, that was Finn on the Aatrox. Larson also went 5-1-5 on Tristana, so he also did very good. But that Aatrox from Finn was just disgusting. But yeah, Rogue or SO4, I'm very happy for them. I'm cheering for them so well because I can't stand that kind of attitude, I guess, from Forgiven. I'm sure we talked about this a little bit last week, but like that kind of attitude is like he's not going to get it. I don't think he deserves a job back in the LEC. He didn't play well. He's almost that teammate. He reminds me of your teammate in your solo queue games that goes 0-3 and then just AFKs. And then you're like, well, Our other lanes weren't doing. To be fair, SO4, none of their lanes were doing very good. But and sometimes in solo queue it happens where like this is your mid Yasuo, he's 0-3 in laning phase, and then he just leaves, and you're like, what? I'm like 2-0 in top lane, and bot lane just got a double kill. Like we're winning the rest of the map. But if they're not having fun, no one's allowed to have fun, and they just quit the game. And I can't stand players like that. Like I'm absolutely unapologetically a never surrender. I'm a tank player. I play for the team to win the game. I don't play to have fun mechanically. I play to win, and I play to help the team win at the best I can, and that's usually through playing tanks like Cho'Gath or Maokai up top, or Leona or Nautilus in bot, which is super meta right now, so it doesn't feel as like bad to play them as it did during like the Enchanter meta or the Ardent Sensor meta, where I felt like I was trolling. But actually I know how to play Janna a little bit now, so I could probably switch over if it ever becomes an Enchanter meta again, which it's kind of leaning towards at the moment. But Leona and Nautilus are still very strong. Anyway, I hate that kind of attitude. I always think you should always be like try hard. Like I've always just grown up like that. Like just try hard all the way to the end. Like never, you don't quit in the middle of the game. You finish the game out, and then sometimes stuff happens. Like hell, I had a game. Sorry to go on a tangent. I literally had a game about a week ago with two other friends, and we were losing 13-0 by the 9th minute. We went to invade. Two other people got out alive at under 10 HP. We gave up a triple kill, and then they had like a Master Yi who was 2-0 to start, and every lane was feeding very hard, including mine. Believe we were 0-6 in bot lane, like alone, by the 10th minute. And then we came back and won that game. Like those are the kind of games that really stick in my mind, and I always feel like we are the best. Like the best scenario, like victories. Like I forget some other games, like blowout games and stuff, but the comebacks, I tend to remember them a lot more. And they're always the best. They're always the most fun to play, in my opinion. All right, enough about me. Let's talk about EU. Let's talk more EU. Let's see. How do we feel about for topics? How do we feel about Misfits? Like, Misfits goes and beats G2. They beat Vitality. Are Misfits for real? Are they just as good as G2 in Origin? Like player-wise? Like, maybe team-wise? They're kind of playing with a very good synergy and just kind of always winning everything. But I just, from a player perspective, it's almost like I don't nearly want to put them at the same level that I put Immortals personally, because Misfits plays a much better game, I think, than Immortals for sure. But in the same breath, they're very similar in the sense that it feels like their record is much higher than what it should be due to their players' skill levels. Like they're hitting their peaks right now, and could it continue? Like, maybe they're just really damn good. Like, Razork, I'm absolutely in love with Razork. I think he's a fantastic jungler. Febiven we're seeing some new life here. It's kind of surprising, actually, to see. Because Febiven did not look very good in game 1, and then, he looked good, actually, in week 1, but then he looked bad. He hasn't looked as good as he did in week 1, but they ended up losing week 1, both games, and they've won since then. That's what it is with Febiven, which is good for him. Like, when I believe he said that all the players around him need to step up, and they have greatly. But Voy is coming into his own as a backup from the ADC, or from the LPL. I didn't think much of him, to be honest. Even it is LPL ADCs, man. Like, you gotta always give him a little bit of a benefit of the doubt. But he was on JDG, and he did not look very good on JDG, to be honest. But Razork and Dandan have also been... Dandan's gameplay is pretty damn good. Ryan, let's see what Ryan said here. Hi, Ryan, by the way. Ryan said Misfits are at least as good as a team as Origin, but below G2 right now. Misfits don't have the name power, but have the synergy. Origin have the name power, but not necessarily the synergy. G2 has both, in my opinion. Oof, that's an interesting take. I actually do not necessarily agree with that take. In my opinion, Origin has pretty good synergy. Like, Origin, for the most part, they did lose to Misfits and G2, but I think G2's just on a simply another level. They just had some happy games, like we said earlier. But, like, I actually really think Origin's a very strong team. I think they have fantastic synergy and fantastic players that they got upset the Misfits. That's tough to put it, But I believe in Origin more, so a lot more than I believe in Misfits personally. I really think I just love Upset. I think Upset has been a fantastic signing for them. Alfari has been phenomenal in top lane. Xerxes is a great jungle. I love, and Destiny's also been a very good pickup. I just think I don't know how to explain it really, because they have lost the Misfits in G2, so technically they should be the worst of the 3 teams that I've seen. But it's always very tough in best of ones. Best of ones are so difficult to actually predict because they're so random. Best of ones are completely random, as we saw. SO4 beat G2. That's like a 2% chance to happen, but a best of one, a 2% chance to happen only needs a 2% chance. In a best of 3, you have to win 2 games at least. So it's 2% times 2%, which is then, I don't even know. We'll do some quick math on the podcast here with the calculator. Ignore that 7. That was not related to actual math. I was just counting my wins. 2% times 0.02% is a 0.04 percentage of happening on a best of 3. That's how big of a difference. You go from a 1 or 2 in 100 or 1 in 50 to a 1 in 10,000. It's a massive difference. Ryan mentioned that I think Misfits are C9-esque in a way they play together. Origin does not. Origin feels like a strong top, strong mid jungle, strong bot duo, but sometimes the 3 pieces don't always click. If they clicked all the time, Origin challenges G2 as best in Europe easily. Okay. I mean, I get it from that sense. I do get it from that sense. I guess I'm very sold on Origin still. Even though they lost, they got kind of smashed at G2. I guess I'm still just... I like Origin a whole lot. That's why I think if G2 wasn't in this region, because again, we've made the argument G2 is currently the best team in the world. And honestly, you can sometimes maybe make that argument, dare I say, for Cloud9 right now. And weirdly enough, T1 is just destroying people again. Not necessarily destroying, but they're beating people in Korea right now. And that is... I did not expect that. I'm going to be honest. I really did not expect T1 to perform at the level they are performing. But yeah, agree to disagree. But we're very, I can't say we're disagreeing. We're just we're close to each other's opinions. We're just slightly different, if that makes sense. I think Madlon. So out of the 3, 5, and 3 teams, then, since we just talked about the 6-2 teams, the 3, 5, and 3 teams, Rogue, Mad Lions, and Fnatic. Which one of them do you expect all 3 of them to make playoffs? Or is our top 6 essentially the playoff teams for LEC? Because I'm going to say yes. I absolutely believe. I think Excel has a wild shot, but I see Excel definitely towards the bottom of this group, where SK, F4, and Vitality are way out of it already. But I'm still kind of confident on Rogue. I'm pretty confident that they're going to step up again. And I love Mad Lions, and I'm kind of worried out of all of them, to be honest, about Fnatic. Fnatic has dropped some weird games. They've dropped to G2, Mad Lions, and Origin. That's not as weird as I remember. Fnatic definitely looks like on a second level to Origin and G2 though. Both times they face those teams, I was like, not too great. But losing the Mad Lions on top of that, I don't know. There doesn't seem to be as strong of a team as they are usually. Usually what Origin is doing right now is where I always have Fnatic, essentially. Just barely under G2. Not bare. Well, I guess you could say that last year with the playoff games. But, a decent second place. A very, very good team that's second place because G2's in the region. And that's kind of where I've replaced Fnatic with Origin. Where Fnatic, I definitely has a 4th or 5th place team right now. Even 6th, dare I say it. Vitality let's talk maybe Vitality. Will they win a game this year? I think they will. I do think they will win a game. I'm unsure when. But they haven't. They looked better. They looked much better this week. The way they looked this week and the way how CLG looked pathetic again. I actually have CLG as the 20th worst team in the West. now. I think Vitality is slightly better than CLG if you're following the Total West power rankings. Yeah, like Ryan just mentioned, Fnatic are very hit and miss right now. They are almost the Fnatic is almost what I expected from Evil Geniuses, to be a decent bit hit and a lot of but a lot of misses as well. But Evil Genius has pretty much been straight misses for the most part. Ryan mentioned that Rogue are so hard to read. I agree. I think Rogue's pretty good. Like, what did they? They lost to G2, they lost to Mad Lions, and they lost to Origin. So they have actually the same exact losses as Fnatic does. So that's actually very interesting. So if Mad Lions are better than what people expected, which I think they are, those aren't bad losses for Rogue at all. Like there'll be a very big test in this first week, by the way, or the game 1 of this week between Fnatic and Rogue. That's going to be a very, very big test. But yeah, I think, Mad and Excel have shown that they can punch above the weight, definitely. Who's Excel beat that was big? They beat Mad Lions, and they beat Mad Lions. They've lost to everyone. I say Mad Lions definitely can punch a little bit harder than Excel, beating Rogue and Fnatic. All right. With that, though, let's go to our... That's not that what I want to go to. I want to go to power rankings. Power rankings for this week are as follows. I still have G2 number 1. They were high enough on the number 1 list that I simply couldn't resist putting them any lower. I couldn't drop them. I have Origin as number 2. I think I have Fnatic a little high, to be honest. I feel like I'm still trying to buy in to the self-made jungle, and I feel like it's almost kind of similar to Team Liquid in a little bit, where I think they're trying to synergize with a brand new jungler situation, and if they can do that, I have a lot more faith in this team. But right now they're 3, but they're at a very shaky 3. Remember the clump from NA between 2 and 9? The clump for EU is between about 3 and 6 here. It's a much less of a clump, but it's still there. It's still definitely a clump. Misfits has moved up to number 4 for me. I think they 6-game win streak, as long as win streak in the West outside of C9. Can't hate on them too much. I had them 6 last week, so they're moving up for me, and they are selling me a bit, which is funny because when I gave up on this team, because Misfits was my favorite team in the LEC all of last split, and then I'm like, I hate this team so much, and I give up because they got a bunch of nobodies. Then I'm like, oh, I actually like the bunch of nobodies like Razork and stuff. I had no idea who these guys were because they were coming from the Master League, and I don't follow the Master League, so I'm like, oh, they're pretty good. I like this. Mad Lions is the weirdest drop I've ever done in my life. Simply because I had to move Misfits up, and I was too worried. I didn't want to put Misfits 3rd, and I didn't want to put Fnatic 5th. So I got stuck with having to drop Mad Lions to 5th, even with an upset win against Fnatic. They did lose to Origin pretty solid, but that one I felt like was the most unlucky because Misfits jumped up so high because of their win against G2. It just unfortunately put Mad Lions down to 5th place. I was very, very upset. I was trying my best not to put that. But so it's an undeserved drop from Mad Lions, but it's what happens either way. I absolutely do not believe Misfits should be number 2. I have Origin over Misfits all day, every day. I don't believe it. Again, best of ones are much different to me than power rankings. Best of ones almost aren't as meaningful to me as team play. Rogue dropped down to number 6. I think that Rogue is they dropped another unfortunate dropping. I felt like I had to put Mad Lions above them because they beat Fnatic this week. But Rogue also went 2-0 this week, even though it was against weaker opponents. But it was against SO4 and SK. But I really think that SO4 and SK are they're not great opponents, but it really got them back, mojo-wise. And I expect them to actually come out pretty strong this upcoming week. Excel was dropped as well. Excel beat SK, which is cool. But then they lost to Origin, which we expected. So they did exactly what I expected this week. It was mostly just Misfits past everyone, pretty much. Misfits moved all the way up. SO4 moved up to number 8. I was like, man, do I even move SO4 up? Yeah, you have to. You beat G2. You probably got to move up. I got to give it to SO4. SK at number 9. They're again, SK's only wins this year are against SO4 and Vitality, so they're not like they're heavy hitters there. And then Vitality is 0-8, obviously, at number 10. Ryan mentioned Team Play Misfits are the best and most consistent performing team in EU with teams with nobodies in February. Fuck. Yeah, well, like I said, my biggest thing I always mention for power rankings, I always look at who is the best team. In my opinion, it's like I do best of 5s. So I do hypothetical best of 5s in my head, and that's always my tiebreaker for everything I do for power rankings. And I do not see Misfits winning a best of 5 against Origin. I do not see them winning a best of 5 against G2. Maybe on Fnatic. That's more of a clump. That's definitely more a clump. But I do not see it. I could not see Misfits winning a best of 5 against Origin or best of 5 against G2, and that's why I put them higher in my rankings, because I think they are a better team overall. It's tough. Like I said, it's always tough to rank teams with best of 1s, because best of 1s to me mean almost absolutely nothing. And that's why I prefer the LPL and LCK style, because I feel like I get a much better grip on who the teams are, and that actually probably shows in my power rank or my predictions, where like LPL I'm over like 70-some%. In Korea I believe I've been over 70% in a few splits as well, because I really think best of 3s or at minimum are needed to show what teams are actually good and what teams kind of get a few wins here and there, but they might not necessarily be a good team. Immortals. I really do not believe in Immortals at all. Like, I feel like such a hater for a team that I was supposed to like, but this team, I don't believe in that team at all. I don't see them winning a best of 5 against any of the other teams in the playoffs, pretty much. Not FlyQuest, not C9, not Team Liquid, not TSM. I don't see them winning any of those. That's just, in my opinion, if that's how I consider a power ranking list. Like, who is truly the best team overall. All right, let's go from there. Those are the power rankings for this week. I didn't have to set up the players of the week predictions, but I do know my player of the week actually was Inax, because to come in and beat G2 was very impressive to me. After coming in for Forgiven, they went 1-1. His stats definitely were not there at the level of some of the other people, but I think the amount of pressure for that situation and coming in just made me very happy. I think this is more of just a happiness to see like this, seeing a player quit a team and then the team go on and beat the best team in the world. Like, that is like, that feels good. So that's kind of why I picked that there. All right, let's talk about our current week predictions. So week 5, let's get into it. Week 5, we got the very first game. It's between Misfits and Mad Lions here, and I'm actually really excited for this game. I have a very big interest in seeing Shadow versus Razork. That's going to be two very young junglers going to be popping off against each other. We got Humanoid versus Febivin. So you got the two veterans. Febivin's definitely a veteran. Humanoid's a veteran. but compared to the rest of Mad Lions, that's going to be a very even matchup. And then you have Karzi and Kaiser versus Bavoy and Denik. And then you have Dan versus Arome in the top lane. I'm getting better with some of these names here. I could never pronounce Arome for like the longest time. I'm sorry, Ryan. I think this is the reason why I have Misfits down there is because I believe this is the week that Misfits reality comes back. I could be wrong, but I think that reality is going to come back down to Earth, or Misfits are going to come back down to Earth. Reality is going to set in, and they're going to lose to Mad Lions here. I believe Shadow is going to help Karzi and Kaiser. I really like Karzi, like a lot. I think he's a very good ADC, and I think that Shadow's going to play around the bot lane with Misfits, because I actually think that Bavoy and Denik are the weak spot of Misfits right now. And if you can call it a weak spot, they've been playing very well. But I think out of what they have currently shown, they are definitely the weaker spot, and I believe Karzi is going to pop off this game against with the help of Shadow and be able to win. I think Arome and Humanoid will be able to play equal enough with Dandan and Fevin that they won't be able to get a big lead either there. The way Misfits easily wins, though, is through Razork just absolutely sneaking an Echo Pick or something similar to that and just crushing it in the jungle and just constantly making Shadow guess to where he is. And then, because Shadow does tend to panic a little bit, I've noticed, it seems like, or he gets like a little anxious. So if Razor can really like put a lot of pressure on him, then maybe there can be some issues going forward there. SO4 versus Vitality. Oh, and by the way, I do have Ryan's predictions. He did indeed pick Misfits for game number 1. We are on the same page with game number 2, though. We both have Shulka. Like I said, I've become such a big fan in 1 week of this team, just rallying around them. It's almost like watching the team lose a player, and you just want them to win. I just want them to show it. I want them to be spiteful and just show for giving up, pretty much. And I think Vitality they've already beaten G2. If they can beat G2 but can't beat Vitality, there's a weird something's wrong going on there. So they should, if they're able to take down G2, they should absolutely be able to take down Vitality. G2 versus Excel. Oh man, I feel sorry for Excel. They get to face the G2 that's 0-2 angry, like coming into after a week of practice where they probably got just whipped by grabs. Like Jankos is getting Sejuani as punishment for the week. Actually, Jankos played a very strong game, especially on the Gragas one against Misfits. But just they're all going to be come out firing on G2, and I really do not see G2 dropping any more games. If they do, I will be very, very surprised. Origin over SK, I think that's pretty obvious. I don't, like I said before, if it's SK, FO4, oh my god, SO4, SK, or Team Vitality, I pretty much will not pick them unless they're facing each other for the most part. Like, there might be an upset or two every now and then that I might pick them, that my gut's telling me. But outside of that, I'm not looking at it too great. All right. This is why I'm worried here that I picked Fnatic number 3 there, because I feel like I just believe in Selfmade a lot. However, I also love Inspired in the jungle. I think Larson can go toe-to-toe with Nemesis. Hansama and Vander, I think, are good enough to go toe-to-toe with Reckless and Hylissang. And I have Finn over Bwipo, and I think this is going to be an Enting game from Bwipo. I think the coin flips the tails here, unfortunately, which is going the opposite of my power rankings. But I think that, because in the power rankings, I can see Fnatic winning over Rogue in a best of 5 just due to, like, experience more so. And, like, just they've always been there, and they really tend to step it up, I feel like, when it's like with the pressure. But in a best of 1, I can see Bwipo entering this game against Finn. Inspired, like everyone, this is such a good game. Inspired versus Selfmade, Finn versus Bwipo, Larson versus Nemesis, Hansama and Vander versus Reckless and Hylissang. Like all those matchups are really exciting to watch. Actually, this is game of the week. No, Origin Fnatic is probably game of the week. But this is a very good game still, though. Like, Fnatic has 2 very tough opponents this week, and because of that, I am going to give this game to Rogue. I think, like I said, Bwipo is going to have a bad game this one. He's going to have one of his happy games, and Fnatic's going to drop to 5-4, and Rogue they got their mojo back, I'm telling you. Their mojo is back after that crushing defeat to G2, which then ended up resulting in them losing to Mad Lions as well. And the next one, give me Rogue. Excel versus SO4. This is going to be my biggest upset of the week. Same reasons that I said before with SO4 over Vitality. I think SO4 gets almost like Golden Guardians, where like them beating Team Liquid has actually kind of stepped up their gameplay a little bit. I actually can see that happening, where the team kind of used the situation to rally and bond together a lot stronger. And I'm actually thinking that they can take down a team like Excel, who's a team that's coming off a game against G2. They're going to be prepping a ton for G2. They're going to have a lot of and then they're going to get crushed to G2 after all that prep. So it's going to be very demoralizing, very similar to what we saw from Rogue 2 weeks ago. And I think that it's going to be a prime position where SO4 gets to take down Vitality, builds up more confidence with each other. That would be a 2-game winning streak after starting the season 0-7. There's going to be a lot of confidence there, a lot of feel-good moments for the team, and they're just going to keep rolling, and they're going to take down Excel. Misfits versus Rogue. This game, I'm also going... I'm telling you, man. Me and Ryan are on the opposite sides. And Ryan, I forgot to mention his picks for this, were Misfits, Shulka, G2, Origin, Fnatic, and SK. So we actually have... I have Mad Lions in the first game, and I have Rogue against Fnatic. He said that both Fnatic games are tough calls, as is Misfits versus Rogue, but I think Fnatic will show up versus Rogue, but fall to Origin. Spoiler for his prediction later on, whom the meta is starting to favor more. And Misfits, I think, are just hot right now. I could definitely see the week they cool off if Rogue smacks them down, but I think the high of beating G2 last week, being on such a tear, and facing one of the two teams that beat them during their growing pains week, will make them hungry to correct head-to-head. Yeah, I'm on the opposite side of that. I think, like you did mention earlier in that thing, in that paragraph, was that they can definitely be a week where they cool off, or this can definitely be a week where they cool off. That's what I am placing my bets on. I am placing my bets on Misfits cooling off a lot this week. I think that Rogue retakes the title of being a top 3 team in the LEC, and Misfits falls down out of that top 3 and falls back to a 4 or 5 level, where I think they will end up by the end of the year. 4, 5, 6. Bottom playoffs. SK versus Vitality. Another terrible game. You have the SK versus the Vitality versus SO4 game, and the SK versus Vitality game this week. Those are 2 games that if you need to skip, you can skip them. I can't pick Vitality until they actually win a game, though, so I'm going to go SK to take the series, the season series against Vitality, and go 2-0. SK might literally only win 4 games this year, and they might be both against SO4 and both against Vitality. They might not have any wins outside of those 2. Origin versus Fnatic. I am in the same boat as Ryan. I really think that Origin... I've talked about it earlier in the podcast. I really like Origin. I think the meta is very strong for Origin. I think Origin as a team I love Upset. Destiny's been phenomenal, I think, from Australia. I just think that Xerxes is one of the best junglers in the league. Alfari's having a career year. And even, honestly, the worst player on Origin for me right now is Nuke Duck, simply enough. And Nuke Duck is he's a very Power of Evil style or laner, where he's not going to lose you the lane ever. But he does have a pop-off performance every now and then. But he's got a champion Ocean, so he can always counter a pick, basically, and put himself in a good position to help with the team. To do what the team needs, or like even if it's not a counter pick, he can always pick something that will help and fill the team's needs that they have. Where I don't think Fnatic has that as much. I think Nemesis is much more like I like to see him Vigar, Corki, Azir, Cassiopeia, stuff like that. And then Bwipo is always a wild card up top. I don't trust Bwipo against Alfari as well. Like, I think Bwipo's going to have a very tough challenge with him up ahead with Alfari and Finn. I think that those are going to be 2 very difficult opponents. However, I will say with my predictions here, I'm going against my gut. And I'm going against my gut with this Origin game, and I'm going against my gut with this Rogue game against Fnatic. I think my gut is telling me Fnatic goes 2-0. But my brain is telling me you got to pick Rogue and Origin. And I'm going brain this time over gut. I think Origin is just all around a better organized team at the moment. Fnatic's a little more chaotic, and I think with Origin's control style that they play, it's going to be able to rein in the chaos of Fnatic, which is rare for me to say, by the way. Very rare. I usually like to see the chaos reign a little bit more. Mad Lions versus G2. Will Mad Lions be able to punch above their weight against G2? No. I think this is just an unfortunate week to face G2. I think G2 is... I could be wrong. I've been wrong about this before. I believe it was... Who was I always hyping up? Oh, Flash Wolves. Flash Wolves, I was like, okay, so they're going to come in angry because they lost the first 2 games of the week against, or like the first 2 games in week 1, and they're going to come out swinging in week 2, and it's unfortunate that these teams have to face them. And then Flash Wolves immediately just crumbled all of last split. So that could happen. This is a little bit different of a situation with G2. I think G2 very, very, very good. So I don't necessarily see it being that big of a difference compared to the previous weeks outside of last week. I think last week was just a hiccup on the road that happens sometimes with this G2 team. They get a little too cocky, a little too confident, and then they get hit back down to reality a little bit, and then they work hard, like really hard to fix that. I love that they are able to criticize each other, or like they know their own weaknesses and stuff like that, and they're totally okay with that more so than hiding like, oh, we'll just do better. We didn't play well. It's like, oh no, we just sucked, and this is why we sucked, and that's why they fix why they suck. I think that's one of their biggest strengths as a team is not able to take the criticism as like taking it seriously, but not offensive in a way. If that makes sense. Like you take it and you actually use it correctly, like you're supposed to use constructive criticism, where that does not happen nearly as often as it should. But with that, those are the predictions. I think that will be it for this week's podcast. Got a little spicy. Ryan, thank you for coming in. We're on opposite ends with the Misfits. But I think that one of us is going to be right, obviously. or we're both going to be right once, and they're going to go 1-1. If it does go 1-1, it's definitely going to be their loss to Rogue, and then they're going to beat Mad Lions. I think Mad Lions is a little more risky in that sense. But, yeah, we'll see. I'm trying to sell high. You know, like on a stock, like the stock is like right up here with Misfit. It started down here. It started way down here. And now it's like way up here. I'm trying to sell it here before it goes back down. I really think it's got to come back down there eventually, right? It's got to happen. Clearly I've been wrong on stuff like this, or I'm like, Flash Wolf's got to go back up at some point, right? but they're punching way above their weight, I think. Like, their reality is going to come back, in my opinion. If it doesn't this week, though, against Rogue and Mad Lions, then I will absolutely... I will take everything I said back, and they will probably... And if G2 loses 2 games and Misfits win for 2 games, I might actually have to put Misfits in number 1. Saying it here first. But with that, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. We'll be back on Monday for the LCK podcast. It's weird now that we don't have an LPL podcast at the moment. We're not going to do the Wildcard podcast as well. But, so now we're down to 3 podcasts at the moment until the LPL comes back. But, yeah, we'll see you guys on Monday for the LCK, which is a snooze fest right now. If you haven't seen the clip from Atlas and LS with Damwon Gaming and Misfits, you should, or not Misfits, Griffin, you should go watch it. Them talking about Game 3. It was fantastic. They just lost it. I love that style of commentary. It reminds me a bit of Smash Bros. It's not very professional, but it's my favorite relaxed style of commentary for sure. Anyway, we'll see you guys on Monday to talk about the LCK. Hopefully, it's not nearly as big of a snooze fest as it's already been this week, but we'll see. We'll see. The LCK has been quite poor this year. All right. Good night.